You know, when you think of a lifeguard, you probably picture that heroic figure poised to dive in and make a dramatic rescue. But what if I told you their real job is to make sure that rescue never has to happen in the first place? It's true. The role has gone through this incredible, kind of hidden evolution, from just being a saver to becoming a proactive guardian. And today, we're going to unpack that amazing story.
Okay, so to really understand the modern lifeguard, we have to rewind the clock. Way back. We're talking thousands of years, to ancient Greece. See, back then, swimming wasn't some hobby or a luxury. It was a fundamental skill. Plato here is saying it's right up there with reading. That's how essential mastering the water was to the very idea of being a complete, educated person.
And this respect for water, it wasn't just a practical thing. It was deep in their culture. You see it in myths, like the story of Hero and Leander, this epic tale of love and ultimately tragedy in the waves. It shows this fascination, but also a really healthy fear of the water's power. And that ancient understanding, that laid the very first, very deep foundation for what would one day become aquatic lifesaving.
So, okay, people respected the water. But how did we get from just knowing how to swim to actually organizing a system to save people from it? Let's get into the first major step in this evolution, where individual skills started to morph into a real, collective mission. This timeline really shows how this idea started to bubble up all over the world, but slowly. I mean, look at this. As early as 1708 in China, you have the Qingqiang Society. And they didn't just reward rescuers, they actually punished negligence. That is a huge deal. Organized accountability. For centuries after that, though, it was mostly about local heroes. You know, legendary figures like Patron Lago in Portugal, before the whole idea of a national structured service really started to take root in the 20th century. And then came this absolutely pivotal moment with the Red Cross Lifesaving Service in the US. The guy leading it, Commodore Longfellow, he just nailed the mission with this quote. Suddenly, it wasn't just about training a few elite rescuers anymore. The goal was much bigger, to create a water-safe society, where basically everyone had a part to play.
So you've got this new sense of organization, and right on its heels came a scientific approach. The focus shifted to creating repeatable, teachable methods that could be standardized. This was about turning life-saving from, a frantic art into a real discipline.
So in the 19th and early 20th centuries, you start seeing these methods pop up. And for the very first time, there was a scientific goal, a systematic process for getting someone breathing again. I mean, this was a massive leap forward. It replaced these panicked, improvised attempts with techniques that you could actually teach, practice, and prove that they worked.
So how did these big ideas, organization and science, actually come together in the real world? Well, let's zoom in and use one country as a perfect case study. Brazil, with its gigantic coastline, is a fantastic example of how this whole evolution played out on a national scale.
For a long time in Brazil, life-saving was just like it was everywhere else, pretty improvised, a local thing. But that started to change in the 1960s, thanks to pioneers like Captain Stockler de Souza. He developed the country's first real structured training programs, basically laying the foundation for a professional, nationwide service. And you can see the progression so clearly here. It starts with these passionate local individuals just doing what they could. Then that passion gets funneled into formal training. And finally, it all comes together into this highly organized professional corps that's responsible for safety along their entire coast.
But you know what? The biggest jump in this whole story wasn't a new technique or a better organization chart. No, it was a fundamental shift in philosophy, a complete redefinition of what the job was even for.
Now, this might seem like we're just talking about words, right? Semantics. But the answer to this question gets to the absolute core mission of the modern profession. It's really the difference between reacting to a disaster and preventing it from ever happening at all. And the turning point came in 2005. At a big international symposium, a crucial decision was made. They decided to change not just a word, but the entire philosophy behind the modern role. And here it is. This is the crucial distinction. The profession officially shifted its mindset from salvavidas, which means lifesaver, someone who reacts to a crisis, to guardavidas, a lifeguard. The whole focus moved from rescue to prevention. The mission was no longer just to save lives, it was to guard them.
This new definition made that mission official. A modern lifeguard's #1 job is to be an educator and a guardian. It's all about constant surveillance, educating the public, guiding people to safety, and preventing accidents before they start. That dramatic rescue you see in the movies, that's the last resort.
In a way, it's a sign that the primary mission, prevention, has failed.
And now technology is getting woven directly into this philosophy of prevention. Drones give them an eye in the sky for better surveillance. Apps can deliver safety info right to your phone before you even hit the beach. These aren't just rescue tools. They are tools that amplify that core mission of guarding lives.
So we've gone on this incredible journey, from an ancient ideal all the way to a tech-savvy guardian. This whole evolution really makes you wonder, with powerful tools like AI and autonomous drones right around the corner, what does the next version of the Lifeguard even look like? And will that core mission of prevention always need a human at its heart?